Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Joffrey Noodle Legs here today. Really hope you're doing well. I'm slowly recovering from this coronavirus. I'm still positive at the moment, but I'm still hopefully recovering. Welcome to another noodle film review. Today, this week is my Chinese cinema movies. So I'm going to be looking about 3 or 4 different movies from the Chinese sort of cinema. Because when I've been doing sort of Asian cinema, it's always been sort of Korean cinema, because their films are a lot more sort of like extreme and intense. But it doesn't mean that there isn't any awesome Chinese cinema, because there is. So this week we're going to have a little look, and the first one we're looking at today is Game of Death with Bruce Lee. So this is the first one we're going to look at today. This is a Blu-ray release of the movie. I can't remember what company it's with now, but this is Hong Kong Heroes, I believe. This comes with a Blu-ray DVD and a core sort of booklet about the film with artwork and all sorts of stuff in there, which is really cool. This film, Game of Death, is a bit of an oddball, really, because it's a Bruce Lee film and it's not. Now, I think it was made in 1972, but didn't get released about sort of 77, 78. When Bruce Lee started to make this film, back in the day, he got approached by Hollywood to make a movie for Hollywood, which was going to be his first American sort of, lots of money sort of film, which was Enter the Dragon. And they had already started filming this, so they sort of like filmed, I think, mostly the end sort of sequence, sort of like about sort of 30 minutes of the film was already recorded. Sorry, I'm really thirsty. And then he went off to did Enter the Dragon, and then he died, and unfortunately didn't get around to finishing Game of Death. So the company that this was under, I think is it Golden Harvest, still wanted the film to be completed and put out there. So they sort of wrote in a couple of doubles. And they're not doubles. They look nothing like him. Just because they've got the same haircut doesn't make them a double. They look nothing like him. And it's kind of crazy. A lot of the film is shot with a dude wearing like Elvis like sunglasses. One is shot from behind, and there's some really bad sort of cutted, like photoshopped images of Bruce Lee. And it's really a bit crazy. It is a bit crazy, and they've also added in extra clips from his older films in there to try and obviously pad it out to make it look like it's Bruce Lee. It's all in the film. Like right at the beginning of the film, it starts off with like the fight sequence with him and Chuck Norris from Way of the Dragon. And what they've done to the movie, that was Way of the Dragon, and they've sort of cut it to try and make it look like it's Bruce Lee on the movie set and they're filming it, sort of thing. It's such a bizarre way of filming. And like after the fight with Chuck Norris, that they say cut, and then it's the film sort of cuts, and then we get one of the first looks at one of our lookalikes.
Okay, that's a print. That was great, Billy. Okay, everybody. Eddie, get up there and see what the hell's happening. Billy, are you all right? That thing crashed exactly where you were.
I know.
Watch it up there.
It was an accident.
Okay, that's a wrap.
Great fight, Billy. Really nice.
Be sure you get tomorrow's call sheets.
So yeah, as you can see, it's quite strange. So little synopsis of the film is like it's supposed to be Bruce Lee plays a guy called Billy, and he's like an actor, and there's like this group of sort of like gangsters that sort of control sort of famous people like singers, artists, and that, and they control them. And if they don't play ball, and like maybe fighters, and they want them to take a dive, you know, that kind of thing. They're like really bad sort of criminals. Anyway, there's and they're trying to approach Billy to come and work under them, and he doesn't want to do it. So we see him here, sort of bits of Bruce Lee, but from The Big Boss, because I know the clip specifically well when he does that. That's from The Big Boss. So you've got clips from The Big Boss here mixed in with the double, speaking to one of the sort of like bosses of like the criminal gang.
Yeah, finally.
We haven't heard from you. You know, I once knew a super rock group in London, called themselves the Flight Crew. They had brilliant potential. Brilliant. Yeah, but they were very stubborn. Their lead guitarist lost a couple of fingers one night. Just like that. Hands and feet have been known to disappear. Lights, they fall out of the sky. All kinds of things happen. A man has got to have all of his parts to make it. Don't you agree with that, Billy?
And as the conversation goes on, he says, "No, I'm not going to do none of this." It said, "Well, you know, it's in your interest, or you know, in other words, if you don't, then you know you're gonna have lots of problems with like these this sort of like gang or gang lord or whatever it is." But anyway, he refuses to do it, and as the conversation ends, you get the clip of like one of the doubles, and then you get a really bad photoshopped head of Bruce Lee.
Get the hell out of here.
It's getting a little late. Well, you're sitting right there by the telephone, just waiting for you to call. Patience, that's not one of our virtues.
So he doesn't want to do it and stuff like this, and he threatens the guy, and in fact he turns around and punches him and knocks him over, and he goes, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that, you shouldn't have done that." Anyway, so he goes off with his tail between his legs, and Billy goes off to the other side of Hong Kong to meet his girlfriend, who's like a recording artist, like a singer. So he goes to her studio to meet her, and so we get to meet her for the first time with our Bruce Lee double.
Billy, can we get spaghetti tonight?
We got one more number to get today, Ann.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. You're messing around with my love life.
Is the boss upstairs?
Yeah.
So that's his girlfriend. We then catch up, go to like the sort of the criminal gang sort of headquarters, where they're led by some sort of doctor. He's supposed to be, I don't know, but we get to see them in their sort of like I don't know where they're actually based or where their sort of base is, but we get to see them at their base.
You're looking a little pale. What you need is a good, nourishing meal, something that will stick to your ribs.
And while we're at their base, they have like a big meeting about all the sort of things that are going on, all the sort of people that they're kind of like controlling. There's like a martial arts guy who that they're controlling to sort of like win this martial art tournament.
Has been completed and construction has started on the new record pressing plant in Buenos Aires. The more important, the more immediate is the oncoming championship fight in Macau. I know we're getting worldwide press.
That and plenty more. Oh, the posters have been approved, and the ad campaign. Best one we've ever had.
Looks good, looks great.
Besides the gate and our TV rights, it's generating the kind of international betting we'd hoped for. We ought to turn over about $30 million. That was a computer's readout as of today.
Yes, well, fight's only 3 weeks off.
And the guy tells the boss about Billy not being compliant, making it difficult for them, and he doesn't want nothing to do with them and stuff like that. So the boss wants to send him a warning, and they got like this really tall guy. His name's Hakim, and he's like the main sort of like boss fight in the film. But he's really tall. He's got to be well over 7 foot.
A couple of reluctant ball players. Hakeem, think you can fly to Detroit, handle that, and be back in time for the fight?
Figure, it's done, man.
Also, I'm afraid we're going to have to do something about Billy Lowell.
I was wondering about that. I was going to ask how that was going.
Well, he refuses to sign our management contract, but that's not what bothers me now. He's starting to shoot off his mouth. He's holding out.
Giving him so many chances, an amazing amount of resistance. And then there's that girlfriend, Ann Morris.
I went to talk to her today. Her last album's on the charts and it's doing great in Australia and France. She says she wants to talk to Billy about her contract before she signs.
Doctor, I think we ought to squeeze a little.
We then catch up with Billy and his girlfriend on their way home. I don't know if they're off to get spaghetti or if they're just on their way home. But then they jump into 3 motorcyclists, and this is like 3 of the sort of henchmen from the gang to give Billy a warning.
Billy, do you think it's worth holding out? I mean, I've heard some pretty ugly things about those guys. Ugly stories.
If we're stopped, don't do anything that will give them an excuse to hurt you.
So they've sort of like directed Billy around the corner where there's that boss guy again who we met earlier in Billy's dressing room, saying, look, you need to come with us and we need to discuss this. You've got to play ball. And he's refusing to do it, and he says, well, you step out of the car and it's going to kick off.
Anne, I love you and I don't want you hurt. Trust me to handle this. I would like Miss Morris to leave.
I'm afraid we can't do that, Billy. We're all in this together. Now, would you mind stepping out of the car?
No matter what happens, don't get out of the car.
You've got until tomorrow morning to call us. It's the last time we're going to ask, Billy.
Billy!
And you can tell by the way this double's fighting, it's not Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was legit, he was on the ball, he was fast. No one could get a punch into Bruce Lee. He was that good. But this guy gets beaten up. Anyway, so he gets beaten up and he's like on the floor. And the boss says to the girl, when he wakes up, tell him he needs to start thinking things properly.
He hasn't got too much time. You tell him that. We want to hear from him in the morning.
We then cut with Billy and his girlfriend meeting up with one of this journalist guy who's a friend of theirs, and he's sort of like really explained to them about how this gang are so sort of corrupt and all the sort of different people that they're sort of lives are sort of corrupting.
Choices. You and Ann are nothing to them. You're just another piece of property. Just one of a couple of thousand public personalities that they own all of or a piece of. It seems like a good thing at the moment. They take care of everything, your booking, your salary, your taxes. If you need $5,000 in your pocket, you've got it. It's later that you start to realize what it's costing you. I don't have to remind you about Charlie Wang. We know the pressure they put on him, and we know they called him in for a talk. The next day he was fished out of the harbor. But going along with it isn't much better.
We then join the bosses back at their base, and the main boss asks, well, what's happening with this Billy Lowe? What's happening? And they said, well, we've given him a warning, but he's not paying any sort of attention to it. And the boss says, well, give him one final warning.
Ciao.
The eyes are a little too heavy on Carl, especially in London.
Yes, a good idea to even that up a bit. Oh, by the way, what about Billy Lowe? What?
He was told to call earlier today. He has a number to call.
Oh, do we know where he is at this moment?
Well, we always know where he is.
Well, then, a final warning, Carl.
We then cut to our sort of Bruce Lee cross Elvis Presley double, talking. I don't know if it's his brother or brother-in-law or whatever. He's speaking to his friend who works in like a Chinese sort of theatre.
We do not see you much since you got to be a big man.
Oh, yes, I know. I've been running for months.
Yeah, very busy, huh? I heard that the syndicate is after you. You must be a big man.
How did you know that?
It's a small business.
I can't join them, and I can't be forced to join.
You have just described a problem as soulless man. You're not unique. There is a solution I do not think you've considered. When you get to the top, you understand how far it is to fall. But if you think very little of yourself, then you can be pushed off and fall very easily.
And as they're chatting there, as you can see, our motorcyclists come in and start creating havoc there at the theatre. So of course our budget Bruce Lee sort of jumps in to help. Anyway, the three motorcyclists are unsuccessful again, so they go back with their tail between their legs, and the boss finds out. And now the next step is that they want to kill him. They want to kill Billy Lowe. So one of the guys goes to Billy Lowe's film set where he's filming one of his films, and it looks like to me it still looks like Big Boss clip, and we see a bit of Bruce Lee jump in the air, and then the criminal sort of shoots a bullet, and then we cut to the double rolling over onto a mat, and he's been shot in the face. So he's supposed to have been killed, but he's not. He's not killed. He's in the hospital. He's been shot, and he's got a bandage on, and they're going to have surgery on him, but they're going to play on it and pretend that he's dead, so that they think that they've got rid of him, so he's going to go and revenge them. So does he go and get his revenge on his crooks? What's going to happen with his girlfriend? You need to watch it and find out. It's a bit of a strange story because it wasn't the story that they'd set out to make. It turned into this because obviously Bruce Lee died, and most of the clips in the first the film's about an hour and a half, so about the first hour and 10 minutes of any Bruce Lee are clips from other films that have been edited into this, or they've just edited it into a conversation, which is so random. But in the very last 20 minutes, where there's like about 3 or 4 boss fights, it's all Bruce Lee, and it's all from the original Game of Death, which was the film that they were planning on making. So that's really, really cool, and I think that's what a lot of this is about. It's because obviously Golden Harvest had this footage of Bruce Lee, these fight sequences and fights, so they thought, well, we don't want to waste them, because it's like we've got some great sort of footage of Bruce Lee and some fights here, especially the fight with Hakeem. So they decide to make some bizarre sort of story, and that's what they've done. And it's okay. It's okay. What do I think of the Game of Death? I think the film's really good. I mean, it's really cool considering the history behind it, and like, there's not a lot they could really do with it, simply because obviously Bruce Lee died. Obviously, they must have had consent from the family to continue using that footage of Bruce Lee in it, and putting him as the main star, which he kind of isn't. The main star is really the villains and his girlfriend and the journalist. They're the main stars, but Bruce Lee's the name that will sell it. It's all right. It's good. The story it's different to all of his other films. It's not a typical Bruce Lee sort of story, but again, like I said, they had to do what they can do. So the pluses, the transfer is really, really cool. I really like it, and the last 20 minutes of the film is phenomenal. There's some great action and great fight sequences. It's like a 4-tower boss fight, and it's really, really cool, and it's worth watching just for that. The story is okay, but it's just like gets lost, and yeah, okay, and a lot of it is Bruce Lee's double walking around with sunglasses on, and or you see the bit behind him all the time. It's just like, okay, so it's quite difficult to sort of like really get into the flow of the film, unlike the other Bruce Lee films, which are amazing. Still good though. Negatives, did it really need to be made? Probably not. Is it a Golden Harvest cash in on the last bit of footage that they've got of Bruce Lee? 100%. And why not? If they're going to make money off it, they're going to make money off it. And historically, it's still good to have that if you're a Bruce Lee fan in your collection, which I am. So it was great to have that in my collection. So I'm going to score the film a good watch, and I'm going to score it a 7 out of 10. And that's me being very kind. Really, it's more of a 5 out of 10, maybe 6 out of 10. But I've given it an extra point just simply because of the great fight at the end of the film. It's really, really cool. So there we go. Game of Death, my first review this week of my horror week. So let's have a little look, see what we're going to look at next time. Okay, got something a bit different next time. We've got a horror comedy next time called Mr. Vampire. We shall look at this next in our Chinese cinema week. So we've had Bruce Lee, sort of. I could have gone down the avenue and reviewed one of his famous Fists of Fury, Big Boss, Way of the Dragon. I could have gone down that line, but I thought, no, let's give this a look, because it's one of those films that's never talked about, and it's got one of Bruce Lee's most famous images of his yellow and black sort of cat suit, jumpsuit on, which obviously was made big again in the Kill Bill films. But it's still definitely worth a watch. I think the kung fu in it is quite poor. considering Bruce Lee is so on it, apart from the last 20 minutes, when you see that last 20 minutes of Bruce Lee fighting, you think, yeah, this guy that they put in is nothing like that at all, because he hardly took a hit in the last 20 minutes, and it's just like, wow, how cool. And it's just brilliant charisma, and it just rings off him. But then with the other guys, it was just, yeah, and that's where it loses it. But there we go. So that's my first film. Guys, thanks for watching this. Tune in tomorrow to watch Mr. Vampire. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.